Hey everyone, welcome to Code Instinct. You know that feeling when you click on a website and the loading screen just stares at you like it's reconsidering all its life choices? You start questioning everything. Did I pay my internet bill? Is my Wi-Fi broken? Or is this website just loading straight from the Stone Age? Well, say goodbye to painfully boring loading progress bar. Because today, we're making a super aesthetic loading animation that's so satisfying, you might refresh the page just to watch it again. Who knew waiting could actually be fun? Before we dive into the code, a massive shout out to my amazing Patreons. You guys are the true MVPs keeping this channel alive. Want to join the squad? For just $3 a month, you'll get access to exclusive source codes and other goodies. That's like cheaper than a fancy cup of coffee. Alright, let's break down the HTML body structure first. First, we have a div with the class progress wrapper. This acts as the main container that centers everything beautifully on the page. Inside, we've got a div with the class loading text, which initially says loading and later updates to finished. When the progress hits 100%, then we have another div called progress container, which serves as the background of our progress bar. It's essentially the track where the actual progress moves. Finally, inside the container, we have progress bar, which is the moving part that visually fills up from 0% to 100% while displaying the percentage dynamically, and that's the HTML. Super simple, yet super effective. Now, let's dive into the CSS that brings this progress bar to life. First, we start with the universal selector. This is like setting the rules for everything on the page. We remove all default spacing by setting both the margin and padding to 0. Then, we use border box sizing, which makes sure that the width and height of elements include padding and borders, so nothing gets unexpectedly stretched. Finally, we set the Poppins font as the default, giving our page a clean, modern, and professional look. Moving on to the body, we center everything perfectly in the middle of the screen using Flexbox. The display is set to flex, with both justified content and ion items set to center, making sure everything aligns both horizontally and vertically. To ensure this works across all screen sizes, we set the height to 100% of the viewport. The background is a light grayish white, which makes the progress bar stand out beautifully. Next, we have the progress wrapper, the container that holds both the loading text and the progress bar. It takes up 100% of the available width, but to keep things compact, we set a maximum width of 420 pixels. Inside this container, we use Flexbox again, but this time we set the direction to column, so the elements stack vertically instead of side by side. Everything remains perfectly centered inside it. Now, let's talk about the loading text. This text appears just above the progress bar and starts with the word loading. We set the font size to 18 pixels, making it large enough to read comfortably. To give it more impact, we use a semi-bold weight, and we color it dark gray to provide contrast against the background. There's a 10-pixel gap between the text and the progress bar to keep things visually balanced. The magic touch, a pulsating animation that makes the text smoothly fade in and out every 1.5 seconds, creating a dynamic effect. Speaking of animations, let's quickly break down the pulse effect. This animation starts with full opacity, then gradually fades the text to 50% visibility, before returning it to full opacity. This cycle repeats infinitely, making the loading text feel alive instead of static. Now onto the progress bar itself. We first create a progress container, which acts as the background for the moving bar. This container stretches to 100% width with a fixed height of 35 pixels. The background is a soft red, adding a warm but subtle look. To keep it smooth, we give it rounded corners of 20 pixels. Since the progress bar will be moving inside, we set the position to relative, allowing precise placement of the moving bar. To add a bit of depth, we apply a subtle shadow effect, which lifts it slightly off the background. The progress bar class defines the styling for the progress bar inside the container. Let's break it down in detail. The width is initially set to 15%. meaning the progress bar starts at 15% of the container's width instead of 0%. The height is set to 100%, ensuring that the bar fully occupies the height of its parent container. For the background, a linear gradient is applied, transitioning from a soft greenish teal at the start to a deeper teal at the end. This creates a visually appealing color shift as the progress moves forward. The border radius is set to 20 pixels, giving the progress bar rounded edges rather than sharp corners. The position is set to absolute, meaning it is placed relative to its parent container. It starts from the top, 0 pixels, and the left 0 pixels, ensuring that it begins from the very edge of the container. Inside the progress bar, the display is set to flex, allowing for flexible alignment of its content. The Align Items property is set to center, ensuring that any text inside the bar is vertically centered. Meanwhile, Justify Content is set to right, making the percentage text align towards the right side of the bar. To create some space between the text and the edge, a padding right of 10 pixels is applied. The font weight is set to 600, making the text inside appear bold and easy to read. The color of the text is set to a light pastel green, ensuring good contrast against the darker background. Finally, the transition property is set to width 0.1 seconds linear, meaning that whenever the width of the progress bar changes, it will animate smoothly over 0.1 seconds in a linear fashion, ensuring a consistent speed throughout the animation. Now, let's dive into the real engine behind our progress bar, the JavaScript. Without it, the progress bar would just be a static visual element, sitting there doing nothing. JavaScript is what makes it dynamic, gradually increasing the progress from 0% to 100%, and updating both the bar and the text along the way. So, let's break it all down, step by step. First, we need to select the two key elements that will be modified dynamically: the progress bar itself and the loading text above it. This is done using the query selector method, which allows us to grab elements from the HTML. We create two variables, progress bar, which stores a reference to the progress bar div, and loading text, which stores a reference to the loading text div. This way, we can update them later in the script. Next, we define a variable called width and set it to 0. This variable keeps track of the current progress percentage. Even though the bar itself starts at 15% width, we want the displayed percentage to begin at 0%, so we manage this separately. Now, let's talk about the function that runs everything update progress. This function is responsible for gradually increasing the progress until it reaches 100%. Inside the function, we first check if width is still less than 100. As long as the progress isn't complete, we increase width by 1 unit. Then, we update the actual width of the progress bar using a formula. Instead of starting at 0%, the bar begins at 15% width. To achieve this, we add 15 to the calculated width, ensuring that even when width is 0, the actual width of the bar is already at 15%. Each time width increases by 1, the bar expands by an additional 0.85%, ensuring a smooth transition to 100%. Alongside adjusting the bar's width, we also update the text inside the progress bar to match the current percentage. This keeps the visual progress synchronized with the numbers being displayed. To create a smooth animation effect, we use the setTimeout method to call the function again every 30 milliseconds, making it run in a loop until the progress reaches 100%. Once loading is complete, we exit the loop and update the final state. First, we set the text inside the progress bar to 100%. Then, we modify the loading text above the bar, changing it from loading to finished. At this stage, we also stop the pulsating animation effect on the loading text by setting its animation property to none, ensuring that once the loading is done, the text remains still instead of flickering. Finally, to kick off the entire animation, we call the update progress function once at the bottom of the script. This ensures that the progress bar starts animating automatically as soon as the page loads. And here's the final result. You get a beautiful progress bar that smoothly animates from 15% to 100% while displaying the progress dynamically. The loading text pulses to grab attention, and once it's done, it changes to finished. Looks clean, modern, and super satisfying to watch. And that's a wrap. If you found this tutorial helpful, smash that like button. Don't forget to subscribe for more awesome coding content. And if you want access to this full source code, join my Patreon for just $3 a month. You'll get exclusive projects, bonus tips, and help support this channel. Thanks for watching, and as always, keep coding, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one.